That's like in Lord of the Rings, all the swords the hobbits use are just daggers for normal humans. Because they're small.
Yep, okay. I saw the second movie in that trilogy recently.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. It's like one of the best movie trilogies ever made. I love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Movies are a little long, but, as long as you got the patience for them, they're good.
It's so good. Just don't watch the Hobbit series.
Why does everyone keep telling me that?
Dude, it's bad. It's bad. It's so not good. Okay, so let me tell you why the Hobbit trilogy is not good. The Hobbit trilogy came first. Like, in terms of the book series, the Hobbit trilogy came first. Mm-hmm. And it's not even... I'm sorry I'm referring to it as a trilogy. It's one book. It's one book called The Hobbit. Right. And it was written for his children. It's a children's book.
Uh-huh.
And it's just one book.
Yeah.
After the success of the Lord of the Rings movies, New Line Cinema was like, oh shit, we got to make more of these things because we've got to have money.
Yes.
I'm gonna butcher his name. I'm really sorry. Guillermo del Toro.
Oh yeah.
Was going to direct the Hobbit movie, and it was going to be one movie. They were just gonna do one. If I remember correctly, he had done some work on it, and basically New Line Cinema was like, no, it needs to be a trilogy. You got to make this into a trilogy.
Adapted a small children's book into a 9-hour trilogy.
Yeah. So, from what I understand, it was a combination of scheduling conflicts and also creative differences of, no, I don't want to make... Because Guillermo del Toro is Le Artiste. Mm-hmm. Or, well, El Artiste. He's Spanish, so El Artiste.
Yes. He probably respects the source material. Yeah,
exactly. He respected the source material. He didn't want to make it into a trilogy, if my information on this is correct. So basically, he was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I don't know how they convinced Peter Jackson to do the trilogy, but Peter Jackson ended up directing it. I'm sure it was some contractual bullshit. Maybe it was just, I can get more money and fund my passion projects. Maybe it was that. I don't know. Whatever the case is, when you watch Lord of the Rings, you can tell how much effort everybody involved put into this movie because they actually cared.
Yeah.
They wanted it to be good. They had a vision and they wanted to achieve that vision. Nobody working on The Hobbit cared.
Aw, that's unfortunate.
There's a romantic subplot in it which didn't exist in the fucking book.
Well, it's a children's book, so it's not usually high on the list of things to include.
There's so much stuff in that didn't exist in the book that they put in the movie for the sake of putting butts in seats. It's not good. It's not fun. It's not really even worth watching. It's a cash grab. That's all. That's the best way I can describe the Hobbit trilogy. Is it's a cash grab that didn't need to be a trilogy.
You think if they had kept it as a single movie, it could have been good?
Yeah, I think if they had kept it as a single movie, and if they had just let Guillermo del Toro make the movie he wanted to make, or if they had just let Peter Jackson, they had just let him make a good movie, then it would have been really good.
Did you watch all three entries?
Yeah, I've watched all three of them. They're all trash. I hate them.
Yikes.
They're not good. And this is coming from someone who thinks the Lord of the Rings trilogy is like one of, if not the best film trilogy ever made. It's really good.
It is very well done.
It's incredibly well done. And you know what? I'm going to say it right now. I'm glad they didn't put Tom Bombadil in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Is that someone from the source material?
It's from the source material, yeah. And every time he shows up, it's like, Tom Bombadilio, hey, Dilio, it's me, Tom Bombadilio. And it's just like, why is this happening?
All right. Hard to keep the mature tone and the serious themes.
It's not really like a super mature and serious. Tom Bombadil is a character that exists, and I'm not a massive Lord of the Rings nerd. There are people that know way more than I do that take it very, very, very seriously. So I have to be careful treading this ground because people will eviscerate me in the comments for getting a single thing about Lord of the Rings wrong. Anyway, whatever. It's
So, yeah, looking forward to the third movie.
You have to watch it at some point. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. It's a great film series. It's so good.
I now know where all of the memes come from.
Yeah?
Seen the memes so many times. So many memes it spawned. Although those Pippin twins didn't really do much except ride a tree.
No, they do a decent amount. They do a decent amount.
In the second movie? Maybe, I don't know, they did.
I mean, there's a lot of them like sitting around and trying to convince the Ents to go fight Isengard. So there's kind of a lot of that. But it's character development. It's character development. They start out as these two like troublemakers, and then by the end of the series, it's just like, oh my god, they are.
Careful, I haven't gotten to the end of the series yet. I'm just saying the second movie had a lot of B stories and C stories and D stories. It's keeping track of a lot of characters, and that's all fine. They don't all shine in the second movie. They'll have their light in the moment.
I mean, that's Lord of the Rings, though. The book series just goes from one person to another person to another. If you were to just only follow Frodo and Sam, then it would just be one book. But because you're following Frodo and Sam, and then you're going and following
Boromir, and then Faramir, and then the dwarf and the elf.
You completely interrupted my train. It's fine.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that.
It follows multiple characters. It whatever. It's great. I really like both the book and the film series.
If you had a criticism for the trilogy, what would you say is your number one criticism
of the Lord of the Rings trilogy?
Yeah. Do you have anything to say?
There are moments that are a bit too like Hollywood.
Hollywood, you say?
Yeah. There's moments where it's like
overly cinematic.
No, it's just like there's stuff that they added in, which it wasn't necessary to add in. Like Legolas sliding down the trunk of a giant war elephant is kind of unnecessary. You don't need it, but whatever. It's a movie, so it's fun. It's
okay.
It's okay.
All right. I think the only criticism I really have is that maybe a 3-hour movie is a bit long. It's just general format complaint for me.
I don't know. I don't mind how long it is. It doesn't really bother me.
3 separate 3-hour movies is tough to get through. You gotta break it into 9 1-hour episodes of a miniseries.
No, I don't want to see it as a miniseries. The problem with doing anything as a miniseries is now people expect every 1 hour long episode to have a first, second, and third act. Every episode has to have that. So then now you have to end every episode on a cliffhanger, and it's just like whatever.
And because the episodes are an hour long, you have to wrap up an act in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the miniseries format, though I will say that the miniseries format they did for Chernobyl was really good. Like, Chernobyl is a really good miniseries.
Yeah, sometimes the format fits. I'm not sure you could do a miniseries on Lord of the Rings, but it would be more digestible.
Well, Amazon tried.
Did they?
Yeah. You're not familiar with the Rings of Power series?
I'm telling you right now, I'm just now dipping my toes into this world.
Yeah,
I'm in the middle of this.
Again, don't watch the Rings of Power series. It's bad.
Okay.
It's real bad. If The Hobbit is bad, Rings of Power is real bad.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
I see.
Okay, it's just another instance of nobody actually cared. It's just money.
Is there any other supplementary material for Lord of the Rings movies that you do recommend? The Gollum video game aside, which we all know is perfect.
No,
just the trilogy.
No, just the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Unless you buy the DVD box set, and I mean the DVD box set, not the Blu-ray box set, because the DVD box set has like 100 hours of behind-the-scenes footage, which is really cool to look at. Because again, it just shows you how much the people working on this movie actually cared about the source material and the movie.
High mark of quality, I suppose.
It's really good.
I wasn't sure that the Lord of the Rings movies were going to hold my interest, because I do have a short attention span, and 3 hours is a lot to ask of me, but yeah, the first 2 movies, I've enjoyed them so far.
Yep. Did you watch the extended versions, or did you watch the theatrical versions?
I only watched the 3-hour long versions, which I'm pretty sure are not the extended versions.
No, I think that's actually the extended version. I think the one you watch is probably the extended version, because I think the theatrical is like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Hang on, I'll look it up. The extended is the standard one that you should watch. The theatrical release is kind of like vanilla Skyrim.
Someone wrote that down, huh?
Yeah.
Who would want to play vanilla Skyrim? Not this guy.
Okay, yeah, so the theatrical release of Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring is 2 hours and 58 minutes. The extended edition is 3 hours and 21 minutes.
Yeah, so the basic edition is 3 hours long, and the extended one is
you gotta watch the extended edition. Go back and watch them again. You didn't watch the right ones.
Okay.
You gotta watch the extended edition of all of them.
What important scenes am I missing?
You're missing lots of valuable material!
Am I now? So, complete subject change. Are there any movies that you watch that you don't remember anything about except for 1 or 2 specific scenes?
I'm not sure how to answer that question, because I wouldn't be able to think of... I wouldn't be able to think of them except for those one or two specific scenes.
Well, you were telling me about how they added unnecessary romances in the Hobbit book, and that just reminded me of the second Matrix movie, where all I can remember is that it starts off with an orgy.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can understand.
My dad really liked the first Matrix movie, and he took his kids to go see the second one in theaters, so that was awkward.
That's always very, very awkward. I don't know. It's hard to think of ones like that. It's easier for me to think about, like...
Fine. Why would you commit bad movies to memory?
Well, because, I mean, there's some really bad movies that are just stuck in there. Like, the movie The Island is a terrible movie, but I really like that movie. It's a Michael Bay movie. It's awful. It's not a good movie. It's got Ewan McGregor in it, and Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
And it is a complete and unabashed ripoff of the 1970, I think it's 1970s. It's a complete unabashed ripoff of a 1970s science fiction movie called Parts, the Clonus Horror, and it's fucking terrible.
But you enjoy it.
Oh, I love it. It's not a good movie by any means, but I really like that movie, and I don't know why. I just think it's fun. It's weird. Yeah, it's such a ripoff of Parts the Clonus Horror that when The Island came out, the director of Parts the Clonus Horror sued Michael Bay for that movie, and they settled out of court for an undisclosed sum.
Dang.
Which basically just means, yeah, I ripped it off. Here's $2 million, and that was basically more money than the guy had actually made on the movie. So he just went, okay,
all right,
I got my money. I don't care.
Got his money.
I really like that movie, and that movie's not good.
Why do you like that movie?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's just because it's like, maybe it's just because Ewan McGregor and Sean Bean are in it. Maybe that's the only reason I like it.
Is that the only reason?
I don't know. I think it's fun. I like that movie.
All right.
I wish I could tell you exactly why. I kind of like how that movie looks.
That's fine. I'm not judging. Go ahead and enjoy a Michael Bay movie.
I guess, if I do have a criticism of the Lord of the Rings movies, it's a couple criticisms. One of them, I fully understand why they cut it out, and I think that for the flow of the movie, it's necessary and it works. But I also kind of wish they would have kept it in just to see what they did with it, which is the appearance of Sharky in the end of Return of the King.
Sharky, huh?
Sharky is the
Is this going to be difficult for you to talk about because I haven't watched the third movie and you're trying
No, it's fine because Saruman is in the second movie. Saruman is either trapped in the tower or he gets killed, depending on which theatrical or which version of Lord of the Rings you watched.
Oh, all
right. Saruman, played by Christopher Lee. He's the dude wearing the white robes with the really long white hair.
Not to be confused with Sauron.
Sauron,
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's so easy to confuse them.
A little confusing. There's a lot of memes online about J.R.R. Tolkien coming up with names for the characters. I need a name for these horribly evil characters. What did those bad people in World War II call themselves? Nazi ghouls. Nazgul. There's a lot of memes about like that. These characters are hobbits who are very proud of the fact that they have big feet. Proud feet. Perfect. There's a whole family of hobbits named Proud Feet.
Okay.
Anyway.
Sure.
Some of it is not very deep. Anyway. Saruman leaves in the Two Towers, and in Return of the King, the hobbits go back to the Shire and find that it has been now replaced with all their wonderful farmland they had has now been replaced with massive factories. Saruman is there, only he now calls himself Sharky. And he is now the de facto mayor of the Shire. I think he has another hobbit that is like the puppet mayor, and Sharky is just running everything.
Honestly,
and Wormtongue is also still working with him. Saruman has lost all of his power. They tell him, get the fuck out of here. You're not allowed to be here anymore. Wormtongue stabs him, and then someone shoots Wormtongue with an arrow. Anyway, they cut all of that out of the movie. I understand why they did it, though it would have been kind of interesting to see what they did, because in the movies, they just return back to the Shire, and everything's fine and normal and good.
Okay.
That's one criticism I have. I kind of would have liked to see what they did with that.
I kind of wish they hadn't named Saruman simply because of how easily it is confused with Sauron. But calling him Sharky for the entirety of the trilogy would have been pretty fun.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. Another example of not really thinking too deep into it. This character speaks lies to other characters and convinces them to do what Saruman wants them to do. Worm tongue. Excellent. Just, you know, don't get me wrong. I love Lord of the Rings, but sometimes not very
Sometimes
deep.
you just need a name. There's a lot of fictional characters you got to name. You got to come
Well,
up
and
with a
you
name.
know, honestly, you give them a name like Worm Tongue, and you pretty immediately understand what it is that they're doing.
Exactly. It's not lazy design. It's concise and simple design. The reader or the viewer immediately knows what to expect.
Also,
Treachery.
because Lord of the Rings is basically the first one, like, it's where almost all fantasy tropes we have come from. It's not a cliche when you're the first person to do it.
I see.
That's just what I'm saying.
So yeah, if you go back and watch Lord of the Rings or read Lord of the Rings, it might seem cliche because so many other things have taken inspiration
it's
from
just
it.
only because so many things have taken inspiration from it. I do not critique removing Tom Bombadil, as I said before, because I do honestly believe that a lot of it is unnecessary. It's neat that it's in there. Tom Bombadil was a character that was written again for Tolkien's children. He wrote it for his children. Tom Bombadil was this little character that he made up for them, and he would tell his children bedtime stories about how Tom Bombadil would go on all these fun adventures. And he put Tom Bombadil in the Lord of the Rings books because at this point he'd already put him in several things, so we just thought it would be fun to put him in there. It's fine. I think it's fine that he removed Tom Bombadil from the film trilogy. The only other critique I have on it is it does kind of feel like it's got like 12 endings. When you're watching the third one, it's just kind of like, all right, and now you can end. Okay, now you can end the movie. Okay, no, we're still going.
All right.
Now you can end the movie. Oh my God, please. It's not actually that bad, but it is just like, it does kind of feel like there's multiple
Feels like
endings.
it might drag on a bit.
Now that you've watched the first movie, have you heard of the Lord of the Rings drinking game?
I have not.
The Lord of the Rings drinking game. If you do this, you will be absolutely hammered before you even make it out of the Shire.
Okay.
Rules for everyone. Drink for each character's first appearance. Drink for...
Well, hold on, that alone is just, we're introducing like 30 characters with no names. Here's an entire village.
Yeah. Well, it's each main character. I'm not talking about ancillary characters. So the first time Frodo shows up, the first time Pippin shows up, the first time Merry shows up, the first time Gandalf shows up. You're drinking every time one of those happens.
That one feels a little cheap because it's the start of a movie trilogy. They're going to introduce a lot of characters at you. They're going to do things for the trilogy.
Also, you pick characters.
You pick characters?
You pick characters. Then you drink for each orc your character kills.
Oh, okay.
So hard mode is like picking Aragorn is your character.
Okay.
Because now you're just going to be drinking constantly.
I'll take Frodo. I'm the designated driver.
Drink every time there's a close-up of the ring. Every time someone smokes a pipe. A character speaks in Elvish. Whenever a hobbit is eating. A ring wraith appears. An elf plays music or a hobbit sings. A character's lineage is brought up. Someone says Mordor dramatically. You see the sword that was broken. A dwarf or elf insults the other one.
I feel like if you're going to have like 10 or 20 different criteria for drinking, it kind of loses its meaning.
Every time there's a panoramic scenery shot, Merry and Pippin get up to shenanigans. Frodo wanders away from the group. Gandalf goes serious wizard mode. Intimate moment between Frodo and Sam. Legolas doesn't understand emotions or says something obvious. Frodo looks like he's jizzing himself.
Why don't I boil this down into one simple rule? Every time there's a scene change, every time the camera changes,
You still wouldn't drink as much. The entire fellowship is on screen. Aragorn does something badass. Legolas looks in the distance. The ring is referred to as precious. You can pick and choose which ones you do, but you will be absolutely hammered before you make it out of the Shire.
and then you die of alcohol poisoning before the end of the movie.
Yeah.